Because, folks, legalization should not come first. Securing the border should come first. Before we take any steps to grant amnesty to illegals in this country, before we even think about any of that, the border should be secure. Period. Speaking on the Senate floor Thursday, Senator Chuck Schumer admitted it will take years and years and years to secure the border. The chief negotiator behind the Gang of Eight immigration bill was speaking against an amendment offered by Senator Chuck Grassley, a Republican. The amendment would have blocked legalization of current illegal immigrants until the border was certified as secure for 6 months. So Senator Chuck Grassley proposed this amendment that said no legalization would happen until the border was secure for 6 months. This was his amendment. And here comes Senator Chuck Schumer, this idiot, saying, well, it'll take years and years to secure the border. It'll take years and years and years, so, we gotta rush through this legalization now. These people they need to be legalized. We can't wait any longer. Securing the border will take far too long. We owe it to these people to legalize them, to make them American citizens. I'm thinking to myself, how does that make any sense? How does that make any sense? I'm going to tell you right now, it makes perfect sense to Democrats in this country. They don't want to secure the border. And even some spineless Republicans, like Boehner, I'll get to him in a minute. They don't want to secure the border because they know that they're not importing illegal aliens. They're importing Democrats. They want a constant flow of Democrats into this country. This bill is all about power, ladies and gentlemen. It's all about power. Now, one thing about conservatism that has always been true is that we have the ability, as conservatives, to learn from experience, to look at history, to determine what we did right, what we did wrong, and then propose legislation based off of our history. That's what conservatism is all about. We learn from experience. And folks, just a few decades ago, we were in almost the same exact situation when Ronald Reagan was in office. The same exact situation. The Democrats wanted amnesty, and a lot of Republicans wanted to close the border before any amnesty happened. And I want to read you this article that I found online, kind of telling the story about why Reagan granted amnesty and how that went down. And then I'll connect the dots after. According to Ronald Reagan himself, as told to his trusted long-term friend and U.S. Attorney General Edwin Meese, the biggest mistake of his presidency was signing the 1986 amnesty for what turned out to be more than half the 5 million illegal immigrants in the country. Reagan was uncomfortable with the amnesty, but was persuaded by some of the leaders of his own party that it would only affect a small number of illegal immigrants and would assure that Congress would follow through with more vigorous enforcements of U.S. immigration laws. The misnamed Immigration Reform and Control Act of 1986 was touted by its supporters as comprehensive immigration reform. Doesn't that sound familiar? That would grant amnesty only to a few long-settled immigrants and strengthen border security and internal immigration enforcement against employers who are hiring illegal immigrants. So the deal was, if Reagan granted amnesty to the illegals, then further measures would be taken to secure the border. Internal enforcement was critical to Reagan. He knew that the real key to stopping illegal immigration was to cut off the job magnet at the employment place. He was also honest enough to call what he believed would only be a small amnesty by its real name, amnesty. He did not try to deceive the American people into thinking it was not really an amnesty, a deception much in vogue with many politicians today. There are various accounts of how many amnesties were expected with passage of the 1986 amnesty. Figures range from 300,000 to about 2.1 million. Some reasonable estimates center around 1.2 million. The actual result was 2.7 million. Close to one-third of the amnesties given were based on document fraud. For the first 6 months after the amnesty, there was a modest fall in illegal immigration. But within 12 months, illegal immigration was breaking all previous records, rising to 800,000 per year. Friends and relatives of the newly legalized immigrants began to pour into the United States. They were followed by more illegal job seekers who saw continued opportunities for more amnesties. In fact, the 1986 amnesty resulted in 6 more amnesties from 1994 to 2000, awarding legal status to another 3 million illegal immigrants. By the year 1997, the number of illegal immigrants in the country was already back up to the 5 million in the U.S. before the 1986 amnesty. Amnesty has proven to be a slippery slope. Amnesties beget more amnesties and more illegal immigrants. Can you imagine the consequences of amnesty for the 11 million or more illegals now in the United States? Folks, Reagan was absolutely stabbed in the back. He didn't want to do this amnesty, but he decided that he would do a one-time amnesty for the illegals in this country, given that they would secure the border. Given that they would secure the border, doing whatever was necessary to block it off. Reagan followed through with his part of the deal and granted amnesty. The Democrats and the liberal left, they did not. The border was never sealed. And as a result, more and more illegals came into this country following the amnesty, and they too were granted amnesty. And it was a slippery slope. That is why, ladies and gentlemen, number one, you can't trust the liberal left for crap. You just can't. Number two, we need to secure the border this time before we think about amnesty. Because if we don't, you know, you have these politicians saying, yeah, we'll secure the border over the next few years. Yeah, don't worry about that. Let's just get amnesty through now. Bullcrap! History has shown that they don't keep their promises, that when amnesty is enacted, the border is not secure, even when they promise it will be. Even when they promise it will be. History is repeating itself. It's repeating itself. And as conservatives, I'm not talking about these weak-kneed Republicans like Boehner and McCain. I'm talking about, as conservatives, we need to learn from this history, recognize and realize what happened with the 1986 amnesty, and understand that history repeats itself. The same exact thing is going to happen again. The border will not be secure, and more illegals will come into this country to get amnesty. That's what's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. That's why we need as many conservatives as possible rejecting this immigration bill and pushing for border security. Now, Boehner, he doesn't really care. Boehner is an idiot. That's right, I said it. Boehner's an idiot. He's one of these weak-kneed Republicans. He's spineless. He's afraid to stand up for the conservatives in this country. He's a moron. And he's right on board with this illegal immigration bill. Cozying up to Harry Reid. Harry Reid, by the other day, said, John Boehner's acceptance of this immigration bill is music to my ears. The two of them are like little buddies, little pals. John Boehner, he's reaching across the aisles trying to accommodate with the Democrats. Bullcrap! The future of our party is on the line. The future of conservatism is on the line. Mr. Boehner, do you get it? This is no time for compromise. This is no time for reaching across the aisle, sir. This is a time to stand up and say, hell no.
Factor Talk Radio.